Can't wait until Monday to talk about the Red Wings and their postseason run that has come to an end. Well, good. You found the perfect home. This is the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave. Brad Galley, Art Regner, John Neo. We're going to break it all down. A busy, busy weekend. Of course, we're going to dive into what should be a very interesting offseason for the Red Wings. We also are going to talk about Phil Koch. Is it his last time in a Tiger uniform yesterday? Sadly, probably not. We're also going to go one-on-one with Michigan head football coach Brady Hoke later in the show. But as much as we're going to talk about the Wings and what's next, let's first talk about how we got here. Because this was a young team that was decimated by injuries all season long, but the Bruins were just better. Bottom line, right?
They were a better team. I think you saw it. Obviously the Red Wings were very successful, beat them 3 out of 4 times during the regular season. But, I think the Red Wings kept saying this over and over, whether it was Mike Babcock and some of the veteran players. The rookies might have gotten us here, or the kids, as everybody likes to call them, got us here. But, it's the veterans that have to lead. You earn your paycheck during the regular season. You make your name as a player during the playoffs. And unfortunately, not many Red Wings made their name during this playoff run. I mean, Boston was just too big. When they went in Game 4, when they went in the second period to that aggressive forecheck and started to beat on the Red Wings. It was game over. The Red Wings defensemen couldn't get off the ice. They got tired. They started turning the puck over, and Boston took control.
And in the end, that's what we kind of expected, right? We all said, well, boy, Boston, that's the one matchup. I think most of us said that's the one matchup they're probably not going to win. Pittsburgh, with the goaltending issues they might have, maybe they've got a shot. Against Boston, team that's been there, done it, depth, especially up front. You knew that was going to be a tough
game. That last home game against Carolina, I mean, where they lose 2-1. I mean, that's the difference between playing the Bruins and the Penguins.
And you look at what that series has been with the Blue Jackets and the Penguins, up and down last night.
And that's what would have happened, I think, if the Wings had gotten in there. They would have gotten some confidence. Those young guys, maybe an easy goal, a bad goal allowed by Pittsburgh, and then you start building. They never built it in confidence, those young guys, because they were stifled right from the start, and that's the worst possible scenario.
Marc-Andre Fleury took a rest. I like my chance with Fleury, obviously.
He's fantastic. Right. I mean, he picks up the assist yesterday, so on the radio as I'm driving in, 16 different players got a point on that team in this series. So the depth on that team we knew was going to be tough to go against. But is it? For me, the sky's not falling with this Red Wings team because, John, you said it. We knew what we had coming into this series. Boston was the 1 seed. The Wings were, in all senses, the 8 seed. So you knew going in it was going to be tough. The sky, to me, not falling.
No, and the sky wasn't falling regardless of probably what happened in this playoff series, because we saw from some of these young guys that even the Red Wings themselves weren't sure about, that they really do have the talent to play significant roles in the NHL going forward. So we learned a lot. And they weren't really maybe ready to do it, but it was forced on them, thankfully. And now you found out Tatar and Yurko, and those guys can play, and they're going to be pieces that you can count on.
In a strange sense, maybe the best thing that ever happened to the Red Wing organization were the Griffins winning the Calder Cup last year because Thomas Tatar was the MVP of that playoff. Mrazek stood on his head. Nyquist went back down and scored some goals. I mean, if you look at it, maybe the AHL's top line was Sheahan, Nyquist, and Tatar last year. So I think much to their surprise, the Red Wings undervalued these players.
Right,
they didn't overrate them.
They
undervalued them, and when they came up, and I think the key is that they were here to stay. They had so many injuries. It wasn't a 1 or 2 game audition where these guys are grabbing the stick. Right, exactly. And so I think that's why these guys emerged as forces this year. The kids was because they had nobody else, and they played them, and lo and behold, they came through.
And in management or coach's defense too, when they talk about, well, the kids aren't the answer, those kind of things, this is the time of year they're really talking about when they say that.
Exactly.
Yes, obviously you can't count on them, or you can count on them to score some goals and maybe get you in that playoff spot, but to succeed in a series against a veteran team.
No,
you see guys on the other side, Boston Bruins, Dougie Hamilton. I mean, first of all, he's a top 10 pick, right? Isn't he?
Right. Yes.
But he went
playoff games coming into the series.
But he went through it last year, and now, granted, Nyquist went through it last year, so you expected more out of him this year, I think. But yeah, those guys went through it last year, And Hamilton, for instance, and you saw it this year. He played a key role in this series.
I thought Mike Babcock, said something. I don't know, profound. Maybe that's like too much. I mean, sorry, Babs. I mean, you're entertaining, but profound, maybe not. But he did say, look, when I first got here as Detroit's coach, everybody was saying Pavel Datsyuk couldn't play in the playoffs. He had gone like 23 games without a goal. It takes time, and unfortunately, it does take time. But when your veteran players aren't scoring goals for you. When you have a one-legged...
Or doing anything else.
Right. When you have a one-legged Datsyuk and, a Zetterberg who's coming off back surgery 2 months ago, really being still your two best forwards, you have a problem.
Right. If you've got a healthy Datsyuk and a healthy Zetterberg from the start of this series, and they can thank the Olympics and national pride, et cetera, for some of that, obviously, but if you've got those guys, I think you have what you had last year against Anaheim, a series that maybe goes the distance and really, falls on a fluke goal in overtime one way or the other. But instead, you had a pretty dominant...
They never seemed to get a break. That was it. If they would have gotten a break and the kids would have got a little bit of confidence, maybe they could have extended the series. I don't know if they could have won it.
I agree with you there. Interact with us here because we're going to talk next about what's next for this team, and we're going to come up in about 8 minutes or so. Your tweets will drive our conversation even more. So use the hashtag 7SportsCave. What you think the Red Wings should do. Johan Franzen is a big name everybody's been pointing to. The big bullseye has been on his back of what they can do. He's got 6 years, $17.5 million left on his contract with an annual cap hit of just under $4 million. So use those tweets to drive our conversation. John, you mentioned something, though, about Zetterberg and healthy Datsyuk. Both of you guys have. Say those guys are healthy during the regular season. I think it's a safe guess to say that they could have picked up 4 more wins, and in that case, 8 points. You're playing Tampa Bay in the first round.
Or if Gus Nyquist doesn't start the season in Grand Rapids, maybe
that's also
maybe
true.
that scoring tear we saw in January starts in November or December. You could make that argument.
Well,
too.
yeah, certainly. I mean,
Dan Cleary didn't give you anything all year. Samuelson didn't give you anything all year. Bertuzzi, clearly, I mean, Babcock probably threw him in there how many times for a game just to. Because he felt like he had to try something, and then next game he's back out because he saw the same thing every time.
So the talent is there. I mean,
the talent is there, and I don't want to play the Ryan Suter card, but when Ryan Suter didn't sign with Detroit, that messed them all up. I mean,
for sure.
They really thought that they were going to get him, and that's kind of changed the whole complexion of the team.
And in the playoffs, I think everybody's talking about the forwards who weren't scoring, producing, et cetera. This team always generated its offense from the back end.
Oh my God!
Lidstrom, Rafalski, even Stewart in more of a defensive role. They didn't have that with this team.
How many times was Milan Lucic in front of the net, just here by himself with no one else hanging out?
And whether it's the power play issues, et cetera. And you saw that. And we were saying it a year ago, or 2 years ago. They needed another top 4 defenseman. Now, Jonathan Ericsson. You can argue whether he's one or not. I'd argue
he's a number 4.
Maybe 4B. but he wasn't there, and that hurt. But they didn't have that guy.
Right, and
you mentioned Suter.
What's this offseason hold for this team?
That's exactly what they've been trying to do. I mean, they've been trying to get a veteran defenseman since last summer, and it just hasn't worked out for them. The Daniel Cleary odyssey, played out all summer long, and
the funkiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Even Cleary, when he finally signed with Detroit, when he flew up to when he flew up to Traverse City, he was even sheepish. He was kind of looking down at the ground and almost apologetic that this thing played out all summer long. What they want. And what Mike Babcock wants, he wants his defensive units, his top 6D, to be 3 right-handed shots, 3 left-handed shots. That's the perfect scenario. They are going to go out and they want a right-handed shooting defenseman in unrestricted free agency. The 2 names that I've heard, one is Dan Boyle, who's 37 and certainly on the downside of his career, and the other one is Matt Niskanen. Thank you very much. From Minnesota. Now, but he's a defenseman from Pittsburgh. And he is, I thought, okay, another, European defenseman. No, this guy grew up on the land of 10,000 lakes. But he is, but he had a breakout year. Pittsburgh had a lot of injuries too, and he had 46 points this year and was a plus 33. So I don't know what the Penguins' plans are, but he's 27. He's an unrestricted free agent. That's the top guy that Detroit wants.
And they can't keep missing. 3 years in a row now, they've gone into free agency with sort of grand plans, and they keep missing.
So does that mean they'll
overpay?
overpay?
Whether they're being frugal sometimes. I mean, there's some contracts that have been handed out to guys they were after that now look pretty stupid on the other end. But they can't miss again if they're really that desperate, which they are, to get a right-handed shot, a D.
Right.
Who can
Worth overpaying them this season
Yes,
for one of these guys?
Oh, yeah,
exactly. And they have money now because they're going to have cap room because all those
lot
guys
of
we
it.
talked about.
They might not even get to the cap this
Right.
year, but based on
Yeah.
based on how
well,
young the
they haven't
roster's gonna
gotten
be.
to it, in the past too, and it hasn't helped them at trade deadline or whatever. But yeah, Bertuzzi's gone, Cleary's gone. Same as those guys are all off the cap. Quincy and Quincy, another reason why
Quincy, yeah.
I mean, actually,
not come
Quincy
back.
was
Leguan's going to be a tough sell because Weiss is here.
Right.
They're not going to buy him out. They can't.
Leguan gave him nothing in the playoffs.
Nothing.
Or
So-
even down the stretch.
What do you do with Franzen? That's the big one everyone's been talking about. Hey, let's amnesty him. Let's amnesty him. John, you were talking about as we came in this morning, Art, about what it means. I mean, you were writing about it as well, of where they go from here on this move.
They've got one. They can amnesty somebody if they want to. It's got to be somebody who signed before the CBA, and it's got to be somebody. Again, amnestying is an option. It's going to cost you what, $12 million or something like that to pay
Because it's
him pay him to go away.
of what's
It's
left.
2/3 of what's left, and trading him is the other option. But trading a guy with one of those contracts, and they've got a few of them around the league, it's an issue. When the new CBA, they put in rules that those front-loaded contracts are going to be an issue to trade because it sort of accelerates the cap hit if you
Right.
unload them. So yeah, that's an issue. He gave him nothing again in the playoffs this year, and that's 3 years in a row, 4 almost.
Right, they're not thrilled with them. I don't even expect the Red Wings to use their
I don't think they will
buyout
either.
either. I don't think they're going to buy anybody out. But Franzen is an interesting case because Ken Holland will tell you, we know we want more from the Yule. We want more from the Yule. But when I look and I see his statistics, although he only had 16 goals this year,
Right.
he gives you 25 to 30 goals a year, and he's only a $4 million cap hit.
And that's the thing.
And-
The cap
and-
hit isn't outrageous.
Right, and so you let the Mule go. Do I find somebody else who can give you 25 to 30 goals, and you're only paying $4 million?
You're going to pay $6 million for
It's
that.
just you want so much more because he's a
Exactly.
big body. You've seen what he can do in front of the net.
But Brad, he
and
doesn't
people want
consider
more.
himself a goal scorer. Remember that.
Yeah, no, and that's the part that's driving. I mean, he didn't go all Prince Fielder on us in the playoffs, with the,
Right.
it is what it is, bro,
He
at the end of the
thinks defense-
season.
he thinks defense
But the
first.
fans have reached sort of a tipping point with him where I don't think he can. He's not going to win back the fans at this point unless he does what he did in 2008 or 2009 next spring in the playoffs and turns into Gordie Howe.
Right, like if he and Phil Koch went out to dinner, it would be, people would be all over those two.
Nobody's picking up their tab, you're saying?
Right, yeah,
Right.
nobody's buying them a drink.
We're going to talk about Phil Koch. We're going to talk about the other names in town that have been spiking people's interest this week. Mitch McGarry, another one. We're going to touch on that. And our good friend Jeremy Johnson in town here working with us. He goes out on the street every week, and we've been missing him the past couple weeks, but he's out to dupe the people and find out what they know about sports nicknames. That is next. Tweet us, #7SportsCave, right here on 7. Take a long, good look at that crest on that uniform because you're not going to see it on the ice for a while. Red Wings knocked out of the playoffs yesterday by the Bruins in 5 games. Overwhelmed by the Bruins' size and the way they used that size. Also very skillful. It's a team to watch throughout the playoffs. Top seed in the East. But our Twitter interaction with you is what helps drive our show. Brad Galley with Art Regner, John Neo here, and the 4th member of our team in the control room, monitoring what you're saying out there. Mike Foss, what's shaking this morning, my man?
Good Sunday morning to you guys. People jumping in the conversation about the Red Wings and their early exit from the playoffs and where they go from here. Let's check and see what people are saying on Twitter using that hashtag 7SportsCave. Raymond says with $20 million in cap space, they need a big man on D who can eat some minutes, maybe also a big forward, perhaps a Ryan Callahan type. Daniel says Wings have no option for Mule, but what have they been doing signing guys like Cleary, Quincy, and others? Tim says Wings bus out of town. Seats are full. Cleary, Burt, Franz, and Sammy, one-way ticket. And Joseph says let Franzen leave, sign Shea Weber, possibly 2 very good defensemen since they're lacking in defense with Quincy and Smith. So defense seems to be a common theme here, guys.
Shea Weber would be great. Bring him on, huh?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, Nashville might have something to say about
Yeah,
that.
he signed for like 100 years, but,
Bring them
certainly.
on in. No, we appreciate that. And I think the Ryan Callahan one is an interesting one that I think we all kind of raised our eyebrows to. Traded from New York to Tampa. Tampa did not get what they expected out of him, especially in the playoffs. But an interesting name. Do you look up front to add a big name like that?
Well, I was talking to John about this. I think a big name that they wouldn't mind, who's a goal scorer, who's a veteran, and had 30 goals this
It's a
year.
familiar name.
It's a very familiar name. It's Marian Hossa. Now, Chicago already used their, and I wrote about this in FoxSportsDetroit.com today. But Marian Hossa, they did not. There was room they were going to use a compliance buyout on him last year because he signed that 12-year deal for $68 $38 million or whatever. But they used 2 buyouts already, Chicago. But there is talk that they might want to move him, they might release him, they might even just buy out his contract. If that's the case, trust me, the Detroit Red Wings will go after him in a heartbeat. He loved being a Red Wing, and the Red Wings loved him. They have a mutual respect for one another. So I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but
Yeah, and
that
Chicago,
would be the guy that they would want.
Chicago,
Keep scoring.
Yeah, no, they realized the mistake they made
Right.
in 2009.
He had 60 points this year.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Well, at his age, I don't think anybody thinks he's just going to fall off the map.
No,
either.
and especially with those
and
young
Chicago
forwards.
and Pittsburgh, some of those teams are teams that have cap issues.
Definitely. They always
Because
do.
they're trying to build around a group of stars who are all making a ton of money. And the Wings are not in that situation. They do have money. They do have to go find a defenseman, though. That's got to be priority.
That's probably a
priority
right-handed shooting defenseman. They
Priority
want a
one.
right-handed
And
shooting
they've got
defenseman.
2 guys in Grand Rapids they'll bring up. I think we saw in Game 6, or Game 5, excuse me.
And Sproul should make
And
the
Sproul
team.
is an offensive guy who can maybe be
And a right-handed shot.
and a right-handed shot, run your power play, et cetera. But they still need. I mean, you had that last game. I think you had Cronwell playing almost 30 minutes. Next closest guy was playing 20 minutes. That tells you the gap that we're dealing with.
What are the
in terms
chances
of guys
Quincy
who can
comes
come.
back?
Well, I think
In your
actually,
eyes.
as much as he was a whipping boy around here, I actually thought he had a decent playoffs.
I
And
think-
probably made himself some money, but probably not here, I would guess.
I think he is an option, but I don't think he's a solid option for them. I think the Detroit Red Wings probably, even though it cost them a #1 pick, would like to, would part ways with Kyle.
I've seen better trades than that one.
Yeah.
Lately, we all have. I mean, the
Again, that
Red Wings
gets-
aren't riding a hot streak that way.
That's where it
No.
needs. He's got to be active in the trade market this year. They've talked about it, but they've never really done it. And he's got some pieces now he can trade because he's got these forwards. He's got depth in the forward department in Grand Rapids. I mean, he's just sent a couple of guys back down to Grand Rapids today, but he's got trade pieces now. Do something with it.
Right. I mean, maybe a package deal. Maybe you will see. It's going to be a very interesting offseason because I do think maybe Ken Holland obviously does feel some pressure that they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to shake it up. They have a nice little foundation with some young kids, yet he knows that they need more veterans. They definitely need defensemen as we keep
And we
harping on.
haven't even talked about 2 guys who are not free agents this summer, but would be next summer if it got to that, and that's Ken Holland and Mike Babcock.
Right.
And there's an issue there too. There's a decision there that probably needs to be made before you make any other decisions. Are you extending Mike Babcock? Is he staying? Is Ken Holland your GM for the long haul? And now that Jim Nill is in Dallas, I think that's probably.
Eiserman
and
just
Steve
resigned
Vance-
for 4 more years in Tampa.
Not that he was necessarily making a comeback in Detroit.
Well,
but-
John's exactly right. I mean, what they do with Mike Babcock this year, I think Holland's
And it's
safe.
what Mike Babcock wants to do
Right.
with Mike Babcock, frankly, because I mean when they signed him last time, he was the highest paid coach in the NHL. I don't know where he stands right now, but he can sort of name his price at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And if Vancouver and Toronto open up in jobs, I mean, trust me, he would look north in a second. And I think Babcock at this point holds the cards. I mean, not that he's unhappy in Detroit. I'm certainly not saying that. And he did a wonderful job this year. But sometimes he's been, he keeps reminding us he's been here 9 years.
Right.
So
He does. 9 years, 9 years. All right, let's get to some fun. Mike, can you still pull this tweet up that I've got on the iPad here? If you can hook it up, I want to show people because we want to set the table for what we want people tweeting. Hey-o.
Hey, there we go.
Okay, this is James Young. Went to Rochester, sitting courtside last night at the Brooklyn Nets game next to Rihanna. So
The stay in school message doesn't quite
no, it
carry as
doesn't.
much
Left
weight when you've got
Kentucky
that,
about
right?
a minute ago, and now is next to Rihanna. So we want to know later in the show who's having a better week than James Young sitting next to Rihanna courtside at a Nets game. But keeping in line with the fun, Jeremy Johnson's a guy who we love to go out on the street and kind of test people's sports knowledge. This week, the theme, what do you know about sports nicknames? This is Jeremy with the people.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Well, today's assignment is pretty easy. We're just talking sports nicknames. We want to know how well do you know sports nicknames and the athletes that they're associated with. This is going to be good. What athlete goes by the nickname A-Rod?
Oh, I don't know.
The Yankee, the jerk.
Alex Rodriguez.
Oh, sorry, we were looking for tennis player Andy Roddick. Oh, ooh.
You're playing dirty.
I am playing dirty. Kung Fu Panda.
Oh, I don't like him, whatever it is. I can't remember it. He beat us.
Kung Fu Panda got a belly on him.
Got a belly on him.
Yeah. Bruce Lee.
All right, what about Mr. Big Shot?
Mr. Big Shot is Robert Ory.
Ooh, no.
Yes, look it up. Bob Big Shot. Yeah.
But I didn't say Bob Big Shot. I said
Mr.
Mr. Big Shot. Yeah.
Mr. Big Shot.
I think you owe Sports Cave an apology right now. Prime time.
Prime time, and that's basketball too.
No, football.
That's football prime time. Oh my God.
Pine time, that would be George Brett. Nah, I don't know.
Tell me, what's it start with just the first name?
Deion
Sanders.
Oh! The Rocket.
The Rocket, Maurice Richard.
No.
Yes, check your history.
No, check.
Maurice the Rocket Richard.
I think we just
Montreal
go through this.
Canadiens.
I think we just went through this on Big Bob Big Shot.
Oh God, he's a pitcher. Why am I getting stumped? The Rocket,
Did the alcohol have something to do with it?
and the steroids. No, I'm not drunk yet. I'm waiting to get there, but
All your argument is gonna go out the window when I say this name.
Yeah.
Roger Clemens.
The Rocket.
In downtown Detroit. Jeremy Johnson, 7 Sports Cave.
To give him credit, he was right. That is Maurice
Maurice
Richard.
Richard, yeah, it's
Richard is
before
the
his
Rocket,
time,
yeah.
but yeah, before Jeremy's time. But yeah, I think I lived down the hall from that other guy, the primetime guy, but in college. But
The drunk guy?
Yeah, no, he's getting there.
Getting there.
Yeah, it's,
Fine U of M alumnus.
exactly.
All right, let's make our way to the bar and get started on our morning. We're heading over because after this, it's the Fast Five segment. These guys get 30 seconds each to touch on some hot-button topics in town. We're going to talk about the Tigers, Phil Koch. Oh, yes. Phil Koch, always a fun one. So stay with us here on the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave. We're just getting started. Look at that beautiful park. Not being used for a while, though. Tigers on the road. Yesterday, things got started in Minnesota, all right. Miguel Cabrera, nice triple off the wall. And then Phil Koch took over. Bases loaded, walk to Joe Mauer started a busy, busy day for the bullpen that did not end well. So my question to you here in the Fast 5 minutes. John, let's start with you. Was yesterday the last time we'll see Phil Koch in a Tigers uniform?
Probably not. I think he's good for entertainment purposes, if nothing else. I think right now with the bullpen issues they've got, obviously he's a bit of a whipping boy, but they've got bigger fish to fry, and they've just got a shortage of people who can get the job done right now, and I think they still think he's a lefty who can give them something. But the question is, when everybody's healthy, will he be? And I think the answer is no.
We got bartender Art working on some magic.
What do you got going over there?
Of course, I brought to the bar set. I gave it to Tom, but Brad, this was really for you. And I just want
yeah?
to say you're doing a great job. John and I are big fans of yours. And when you turn 21 for real, we want to take you out for your first beer.
You're going to have to wait a while. You're going to have to wait. I got to graduate high school first.
Yeah, either that or that's a
that's
nice wedding gift. One of the two.
Yeah, very nice. Phil Koch, look, I think he'd be gone already if he was going to be gone. I think they're going to give him opportunity after opportunity. I don't think they have much. And if you look at Brad Ausmus, you know, maybe it's that catcher thing. I think he has some sort of strange loyalty to Phil Koch, and maybe he thinks he's going to work himself out of it. But I think it's going to have to be a major meltdown in order for him to go. And I think we've seen it, but the Tigers don't.
All right, we talked so much about the Red Wings, a big offseason piece of the puzzle that may be an afterthought for some. What's going to happen with the backup goalie position? Is this a spot where they go out and seek out maybe a high-priced veteran to go as a 1B option to Jimmy Howard Hart?
I think that they would probably like to see Gustafsson come back, but I think that he's probably played his way into an opportunity of getting a multi-year deal and an opportunity to be a starter. So I think they're going to go out and find some veteran goalie to back up Jimmy for a year.
I don't think Gustafsson really needs to be back because I think everybody saw in the playoffs he does not inspire confidence. He filled in, but he doesn't inspire confidence. Peter Mrazek is the guy in Grand Rapids. He just made 55 saves in double overtime again and won it. He's the guy who needs to be pushing Jimmy Howard and maybe the guy who is ready to supplant him at some point, even next season. He's the guy that I think that you bring him in. We've learned this season, don't let the young guys rot in Grand Rapids any more than they need to. Bring him up, let him thrive, and I think he's a guy who's ready to do that.
Would it be healthy if he pushes Howard if he's up?
See, I think that the Red Wings don't want to have a goaltending controversy.
Well, tough.
No, wait. Just hear me out. I mean, I'm not saying that I wouldn't want to have one. I think we all would because it's
We'd
good
love
for our
it.
business. But I think that they want Mrazek to play another year in Grand Rapids to be the starter. Jimmy's a workhorse. They don't expect him to be hurt next year. I think they're going to get a veteran in. They want Mrazek for one more year. They want him to be overripe, unfortunately. I think if Mrazek comes here, I agree with John. He could supplant Jimmy rather quickly.
You know that buzzer sounds for a reason. You can't make your own rules here, guy. Michigan State losing a lot of important people the last couple weeks. Mitch McGary, John Horford, the latest to go, although Horford didn't really mean much. But McGary, Stauskas, Gary Harris, I mean, the names go on and on. Who is better suited to win next season, Michigan or Michigan State?
I think Michigan, although the McGary thing hurts. I was on here a couple weeks ago saying I thought he was gone too. I thought everybody was going to go, including Brandon Dawson. I still think Michigan, because of John Beilein and the way he's proven even this year that he can immediately plug in some young guys with the way he runs that offense. They don't need a big man. They don't need this or that. They're just going to be offensively efficient. I think Tom Izzo, he needs guys. He has a harder time plugging a guy into his system than John Beilein does to his.
I couldn't agree with John more on this one. And it's not because I think we both graduated from Michigan, but I really think it's no Marquette, though. I'll give you that much.
I know, right here, just for continuity. There's a Michigan State mug.
Look, I love you, Tom Izzo. I really do. I mean, I think you're a great coach, but I do think that you complicate matters by your own personality at times, and I think that there seems to be, at least coming out of East Lansing, maybe you're not enjoying it as much, that maybe you might look towards the NBA this year. I think John Beilein is a college coach, has a system in place, and I agree, players adapt to his system rather easily.
Clippers owner Donald Sterling making some interesting, terrible remarks, and I think Ernie Johnson on TNT summed it up very wonderfully, saying there's no place in the NBA for Donald Sterling after making racist remarks. Art, let's start with you. What is a good enough? Is there punishment that the NBA can hand out?
Yeah, I don't even know what to say about this because it's so outrageous. You would think that an NBA owner, of all professional sports owners, would have tolerance or at least understand the plight of African Americans, black people in the United States. Obviously, he comes from a different era and time, and his bigotry and his racism is just not going to go away. I don't know legally what you can actually do for a guy who owns a team. I would just say that if I were his players, even though it's the playoffs, I would boycott. I would not put on that uniform as long as he's the owner. I think that that's what you have to do. I think it's up to the players.
Well, and in addition to Ernie Johnson, you mentioned the guy who maybe carries a little more weight, LeBron James, said there's no place for Donald Sterling in this league. That's easy to say. That is, as Art said, harder to do. You can't just take the franchise away from him. You can sort of treat him the way baseball treated Marge Schott, and I think that's what they'll try to do. But if I'm Commissioner Silver, the first thing I do is call David Stern and say, "You left me with this? This has been going on a long time. This isn't news to anybody in the NBA what Donald Sterling is."
That is the bigger problem, and you'll touch on that a little bit more later in the show about this entire issue. Last, final segment, Fast Five topic.
Okay.
Michael Pineda. Little pine tar behind the ear. It's been spoofed a little bit. Yesterday at the Red Sox game, they had a gold medalist do the exact same thing as she threw out the first pitch. But what should baseball do with pine tar? Because it's been around forever, John.
Not to sound like a normal representative, legalize it. Come on. I mean, everybody's using it. It's 80, 90% is some of the estimate. Yeah, it's a good segue there. No, it's one of those rules that everybody breaks and nobody wants. The Red Sox didn't want to call them on it because their guys are doing it too. Stop the nonsense. Just legalize it. George Brett would be happy. Everybody would be happy. Just let's quit the charade.
Well, like Bob Marley said, legalize it. I mean, let's. I mean, without
Wait a
question.
minute, let me check. There you go. Hey.
Look, we know everybody does it. The old Charles Barkley routine. The old saying, "If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying." Everybody tries to go for that competitive edge. I mean, Norm Cash won a batting title in 1961 with a cork bat, which he showed in Sports Illustrated exactly how he corked his bat. I mean, that's just make it legal. I mean, just,
instead of fighting it, make it happen.
Yeah, just stop the charade. Everybody does something to try to get a competitive edge. And, pine tar, big deal.
All right, these guys want it. You want to maybe learn a little bit more about your Michigan football team out there? Yes, Wolverine fans, you get it next. Brady Hoke goes one-on-one with David Solano to talk all about the interesting offseason and what's next for these Wolverines. You're watching the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave. Brady Hoke's been a name in the forefront of a lot of college football fans, especially in this area. An up and down season last year that ended pretty much down. Well, recently the school opened the doors to its new football facility. That's when our David Solano got a first-hand tour from Hoke and had this one-on-one conversation.
Busy
Right.
offseason for you.
Well, it always is, you know, and it's been good. The spring football ended up in good fashion, stayed healthy, which is always important, but a lot of improvement too.
Devin Gardner, obviously taking snaps during the spring practice. The kid's looking pretty good.
He's doing a nice job, and I think he's grown a lot. I think Nuss has done a nice job of taking him further within an offense in the quarterback position, and we've got great quality competition, which we haven't had every year.
The change-ups in terms of coaching, obviously one of the big storylines you mentioned, you know, Doug Nussmeier, your new offensive coordinator,
Right.
and 2 coaches now in the secondary. How is that adjustment coming along for you, Coach?
Well, I think it was really positive, and you know, you always evaluate when you're done with the season, good or bad, and see what you can do to help the program become better. And I think by having 2 guys in the back end, most National Football League teams have that, with all the spread offense you see and 5 DBs, 6 DBs on the field. I think Roy Manning at the corners and Kurt Mowry at the safeties, we made a lot of progress through spring. Well, you know, I mentioned quality depth, and you know, with Devion Smith, Derek Green, Justice Hayes had an excellent spring. Ross Douglas, we moved over from corner. He showed some things, and then we'll get Drake Johnson back full speed in the fall. So, you know, we'll find out a little bit more, but I think all those guys who participated during spring really made improvements.
Taylor Lewan now, everybody's saying a first-rounder, Coach. It's going to be hard to fill Lewan's shoes on that O-line.
Well, you know, we've got 2 tackles who we lost. Mike Schofield, he'll be drafted somewhere in the middle probably, but Taylor, you know, will go in the first round, and Ben Braden is a guy who stepped up. I think when you look at the left tackle, you know, Eric Magnuson is a guy who's really played good football. Mason Cole, who came in January out of Florida, has really had a good spring, and probably is a little bit ahead of his time with how he played.
So, Coach, I know it's early, but I know the Maize and Blue family wondering just what you've seen so far from the kids on the football field. What can we expect out of the games against Appalachian State?
Well, I think we really had a good spring, and the competition was and is tremendous all around the board. The quality of the depth and the athleticism, the length that we have on our team is something we're excited about. And I think you know, the team chemistry is what really excites me, is how this team has worked together.
A lot of name dropping from Hope there, but what were you saying while we were watching that about the running backs and all that good stuff?
Well, if you don't have an offensive line, you can have, you know, you can have Jesus in the backfield. He levitates, and you're still not going to gain any yardage. I mean, you know, Michigan's in trouble. I don't know what's going on with that program. I think the pressure's really on Brady right now. They have to produce, literally. Michigan cannot afford to have a bad football team. And when I mean good football team, they have to be perennial top 10. And if they're not, you know, things could get really dicey in Ann Arbor because they rely on that program so much.
Well, hey, just down the road, Michigan State spring game yesterday.
Yeah.
That's a top 10 program that does the spring game right. Actual touchdowns yesterday, John.
Yeah, they actually tackled too, didn't they? Right? You know, no, and really, honestly, you saw some young guys flashing that maybe are ready to take the place of some of the guys they lost on defense. And then the difference there is you've got a confident quarterback and Connor Cook.
Oh, yeah.
Guy, he wasn't that way last year. Michigan doesn't have a confident quarterback as last we saw. I think that's the big issue then going into this season is, can Michigan sort of find some confidence, manufacture it with their offense when there's nothing to base it on?
Michigan State debuting their big Rose Bowl rings yesterday. We've got pictures of what those fine pieces of jewelry look like. Pretty nice. Starcus Denard's got the nice red rose on the side there.
That's a pretty good recruiting tool, don't you think?
Yeah, right? Nicely timed for them. That's a program that's continually on the rise. And
Michigan's got some of those that are a little tarnished, though, somewhere like, you know.
Michigan's are at the Bentley Historical Museum.
Yeah, I was just going to say
right
that.
now, you know?
That new historical museum.
Yeah, right. That's exactly. Look, State is obviously established. They have an offense, and everybody's virtually coming back, and we know that their defense is always going to be good. So, and look at their schedule. Their schedule's perfectly. I mean, they play Nebraska, Michigan, and Ohio State all at home. And, you know, the road schedule is like Purdue and, you know, I mean, Indiana.
Michigan, meanwhile, can't sell tickets to their home games right now. They're having trouble because their home schedule is so easy compared to.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
whatever.
So, I mean,
Appalachian
think,
State, look out. Ooh.
You know, yeah, if they lose that
happen.
game again, I mean, you know.
All right, well, hey, coming up after the break, we're going to talk about someone else from Michigan. Mitch McGary made headlines this week. Very confusing headlines. Didn't really go together. You don't usually see test positive for marijuana, will head to the NBA. We will dive into that confounding, confusing headline on the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave right after this. Just receiving word in here that the Tigers game in Minnesota has been postponed today. Rain there, washing them out pretty darn early.
Yeah, well, that's nice for the fans, actually.
That is good. You got to do that right.
The opposite.
Mitch McGary's career to the NBA, not postponed. We've been teasing ahead on the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave here about his decision to go pro. We knew for a while, John, you said it even on this show. Art, I think we all kind of knew he was going. The back thing, and now he's gone.
I knew something was up because earlier in the week they leaked out that Mitch might go because if he stays another year at Michigan, he'd be 23 for the NBA draft, and by NBA standards, that's ancient. He should be planning, his retirement at that point. So, look, you never think you're going to get caught until you do, especially when you're a young person. And he owned up to it, which is fine. Don't get me wrong, but he
made a mistake.
He made a mistake, and I think that he's trying to endear himself to the NBA players who love marijuana, as we know, and he's trying to let the GMs know that he's a kind of a stand-up and accountable guy. That hey, I screwed up. I made a mistake.
I think he looks good in this situation.
Get out in front of it because
crazy.
it's going to leak out. It's going to get. Yeah. It's going to come up. At some point between now and the draft. So yeah, getting out in front of it was smart. I thought in his part. Obviously, what he did probably wasn't smart, seeing as how you're going to. But honestly, talk about a guy who had a bad year.
Right.
I mean, the back injury, and then the first game he dresses, just because the team asked him to, essentially.
He gets tested.
Well,
he gets tested.
Brad, has he been hanging out with you? I mean, people have been hanging out. How have you been running a little bit? Brad, I didn't insinuate that you were, that you smoke pot. But
I think you did.
No, yeah, that didn't come out right.
No, it did not.
No, my point being is that I agree with what John just said about Mitch McGary.
Well, and honestly, I mean,
not what I said about you. I don't agree with that.
A year suspension. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
All right, I got to walk off the set right now and take a time out.
A year suspension for weed, and obviously the NCAA just changed it after the fact to 6 months.
Right.
Although it's listed as a street drug along with one other thing, which is heroin. And if you're telling me, I mean, the NCAA just never ceases to amaze with, sort of the hypocrisy.
Tell us about heroin, John.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I mean, it's from the watching The Wire is all I know.
Right, exactly.
Train spotting. But no, I mean, that's the and the fact that this all comes out on the day that they're having a union vote in Northwestern, I thought was just perfect because, if these are students, not employees, why are they getting tested? This is what I tweeted the other day. Why are they getting tested asked to pee in a cup, for testing for a recreational drug if they're students, not employees? And I'd still stand by that. I mean, this is the hypocrisy of the NCAA at work.
Hey, you have a muzzle on, my friend.
Okay,
that's it. No, that's it. Hey, we're going to touch on things a little bit more. We want to know who you think had the best week in sports. You're going to use your tweets on the air next. It was not Mitch McGary, and we're going to do that in the next segment after the break here. Use the hashtag 7SportsCave, your tweets on TV, and Art's going to talk. We're going to let him talk again. Mom, by the way, I've never even smoked a cigarette.
I apologize, Mr. and Mrs. Galley.
We need to dance more like they do on Good Morning America. Get some music all up in here. Well, we promised you your tweets would be on TV. We were asking you who had the best week in sports because James Young sat courtside next to Rihanna about a year ago. He was in high school. We were interviewing him about going to Kentucky. Now, he's hanging out with one of the biggest pop stars in the world. But we got a few tweets if we could take to the iPad here. Mike McHugh says, Phil Koch. Oops, you said best week. Never mind. Ha. And then actually we have more people defending Phil Koch. As bad as Koch is, he actually gave up 0 runs, lowered ERA, and pitched his longest relief outing of his career. Hashtag 7SportsCave. That was Mark_M517. And then Chris Druin says Pope John Paul II did okay as well.
Can the Pope get out lefties? That's what I want to know.
Yeah,
hey,
really.
There you go.
Sign him. Who had the best week in sports outside of James Young?
Well, I know people aren't going to like this, but I think that Milan Lucic had the best week in sports. He scored a couple of goals. He didn't get suspended for trying to castrate, Danny DeKeyser. A guy that you hate, but he came through and he scored some big goals for his team. I think he had a great week in sports.
Well, yeah. You know what? I will go off the board here. Jerry Buss, because A guy in LA who was, his Lakers are in a trash heap right now, and yet suddenly he's not the worst owner in town. I'll say that.
By doing nothing,
by
Jerry
doing
Buss
nothing,
finally did himself a favor.
He got the heat off his back. Yeah.
The snow is finally melting around here, so high school sports taking the forefront of our scene, and our friends at State Champs always showcase an athlete who has their best week ever. So this is here our State Champs High School Play of the Week. Out in Stony Creek, Troy Athens taking on in a girls soccer game. Courtney Solik off the inbound play there. Watch this shot.
We'll call that a throw-in.
We'll call it a throw-in. I know, I'm finding it myself. The shot was a lot better. Soccer, goal, Stony Creek for the Cougars to go on to win it. 3-0. After this, our final thoughts. Stay with us. Throw-in. This is the part of the show, our final commentary, if you will, where we talk about what we've been chewing on throughout the week in sports. Art Regner is up first. Art.
All right. Since his arrival to our Pleasant Peninsula in 2010, Detroit Lions defensive tackle Ndamukong Suh has been a bit of a riddle. But when you examine Suh's behavior, perhaps he's not a riddle that's not that difficult to solve. This is how I believe Suh views his life. He works in Detroit. He doesn't live in Detroit. He reminds me of a kid on summer break from school. Once the school year is over, the season in his mind, it's see you next year. That's why I'm not too worried with Suh and his ongoing contract negotiations and him missing these so-called voluntary workouts with the Lions. In his current contract situation with the Lions, he's not concerned with the end result, which is winning a championship. He hasn't reached that point in his career where his priority to win is his ultimate goal. If one thing seems certain about the Lions star, it's how carefully he has tried to cultivate his national image. Once he fired his agent, it took him 6 weeks to hire another one, and during that period, Suh was linked to Jay-Z. For a young man seeking a national platform, it doesn't get much better than that. He spent part of this season with his good friend Warren Buffett. Do you really think the Lions are on his radar at all? This isn't about him counting down the days until he becomes a free agent. What's really happening is that Suh's a 27-year-old young man that has a lot going on that doesn't involve his football career. Eventually, he'll turn his attention to his real job. But just like most people, when you're on vacation, you don't think about work until the last possible minute.
You know, this was the first show that we have not talked about Ndamukong Suh until you had to go do that.
Well, you know what? I can't get rid of the guy. Everywhere I go, people are asking me about Suh.
No, that's what
Couldn't be. It's so true. Yeah. Spot on. John?
Donald Sterling, the billionaire slumlord who owns the Los Angeles Clippers, was outed this week for being a racist. Only we've known what he was for a long, long time. His bigoted comments cost him millions in a huge discrimination lawsuit years ago. His plantation owner views have been highlighted in court depositions. But now that he's been caught on tape telling his girlfriend not to publicly associate with blacks, among other things, now everyone's finally expressing some outrage. A hefty fine is coming, maybe a suspension too. Players are making noise about a boycott if something's not done. LeBron James said Saturday there's no place for Sterling in the NBA. And if that notion makes the league and its owners uncomfortable, well, too bad. Because what's really discomforting is that it took them this long to say or do anything, that it took until now to admit the problem they've been hiding or hiding from for years.
Interesting thought. I mean, what happens today, something's got to happen soon with this Clippers team. The boycott we mentioned earlier.
In fairness to the players, they got to get rid of this in a hurry.
It's tough. They have to play. Yeah. They have to play because they have jobs. But it's a difficult situation for them to be in.
I think if the Clippers and Warriors refuse to play a game,
there you go.
I think that would get people's attention and maybe something would be done. I mean, you know, you would think that we were in an age of tolerance finally, and we're not.
Certainly would. Something that got our attention here. On Thursday, we lost a hero to the Chippewa Valley community in Clinton Township. Nick Uriel, a senior football player with the Big Reds, lost his battle with cancer. But he left one heck of a mark. When we visited the team this past fall, Nick got out of his wheelchair to talk to us, and his teammates, one by one, gathered to stand by his side. An unbelievable moment, and as we admire the impact he's made, we look back at that moment he made with us.
He inspires us as a football team, and like I told him, this isn't, you know, us doing him a favor, he's doing us a favor by being out here, and his attitude's gonna help him get through this, and he's been incredibly courageous, and we're just glad to have him with us tonight.
Nick, I want you to know that these guys wanted to come over, your entire team, and let you know that this fight, we're all behind you, these guys are all behind you, and it's awesome to have you here. Guys, give it up for Nick. How much fun is it to be with this group, man?
It's so much fun. I don't know where a better place would be to be without them.
Nick's a special kid. Over 1,000 people came to a memorial last night. His funeral being held later this week. He got his diploma just a day before he passed away. As someone that touched that community, someone that is stronger than every single player he was on with that team. Nick, thank you for the memories. Thank you for leaving an impact on all of us. And to everyone in Chippewa Valley, we stand with you in celebrating one special kid. High school football can do some pretty cool things.
No, high school sports in general, because you see things like that too often, sadly.
Right, rarely, and there's nothing better
to see that team, kind of rally around him too. It's
right. Yeah, there's nothing better than being a member of a team. I think we can all say that. When the camaraderie, the friendships, the things that you all go through together, it's great. And that was a great piece. I mean, obviously when those players were coming up to him, you could feel the emotions were welling up in me. I mean, it was great.
Tigers postponed today, as we mentioned. That moment is great. We've got maybe not too many ahead of us here, as the Tigers, no game today. Wings are out of the playoffs. What is there to look forward to around town?
I think the NFL does something here coming up pretty soon. I think we'll probably be talking about that.
We've got a big draft special coming up in a couple weeks.
Dominic Sue's arrival back to Detroit. I think that's going to be great.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you saw, he was at Larry Fitzgerald's
hit a home
softball
run
game
too,
last
I
night.
heard.
Hit a big home run.
I retweeted it.
He looked big in that box out there.
He
Looked like
does look
Mo
huge.
Vaughn.
He does look huge.
Wings will clean out their lockers on Tuesday. Any big messages you expect out of them? We've got about 10 seconds here, Art.
We're very disappointed, and we look forward to next year.
Said big messages. Profound. Come on.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I thought you meant cliches.
John Neo, Art Regner. These are good guys. John, last word.
No, I think it'll be interesting to see if Mike Ilitch is there for the team picture, too.
Right, he wasn't there last year or for the Tiger one either.
See you guys. Thanks for watching.